Hi everybody, my name's Roxanne. I decided to start this channel. I've done a lot of projects in the past, my ex-husband and I. I recently came to live on his 5 acres, which compared to what most people own around here is quite a small acreage. So I call it the tiny acreage. Tiny homestead by comparison to the folks down the road that have 320 acres. I had to sell my place because of COVID, came here and got thinking about, the things that we've done in the past that have worked and the things that haven't worked. We've built almost all of the homes we owned, garages, outbuildings, bunkies, and the tiny house that we're currently living in. So I came here, we're all sort of locked away, don't know what to do with ourselves, a little too much boredom, and we've thought a lot about becoming more self-sufficient for quite some time. I bought my place a lot further up north, and my ex-husband put the tiny house that we built in Ontario on this property. Got it set up with solar, is living off-grid, uses propane for heat. Some don't consider that off-grid. I'm not going to start into that whole argument. To me, if you're not hooked up to the grid, you're off-grid. Anyway, you can argue that with somebody else, not me. So anyway, it seemed like a good solution to come here rather than going back to the city, the big city. Didn't want to do that. And my ex, Chris, had already sort of gotten set up here pretty good and was just sort of getting started. So I turned this, this is actually a 20-footer that I'm sitting in, turned it into a separate bedroom for myself, and then we're just basically going through ways to become more self-sufficient. A lot of people have been talking about this for a lot of years, and it's become much more of an issue because of COVID and the talk about food scarcity, prices, that sort of thing. So people were already becoming increasingly concerned about where their food's coming from, how it's raised, what it's fed, transportation, all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people, whether they're in the city or on their own land, are looking for ways to become more self-sufficient and also produce their own food, but also know what's in it, where it came from, and gain a lot of self-satisfaction from, producing and supplying their own food. And I think it's an awesome, our kids are grown up now, but I think it's awesome. I see some other shows where people have their kids so involved, and I think that would be just awesome if we would have been able to do that with our kids. We were stuck in the big city, like most people are, jobs, and really tied to that. So it's nice now. We're a little long in the tooth to be doing this maybe, but I love doing it. I love building. I love designing stuff. I love the projects. I love seeing it come to fruition, whether it's a chicken coop or a tiny house or, a huge conventional home. I think I'm actually kind of addicted to the project. So we built the tiny house in Ontario, sold that property down there when we got divorced, and my ex moved the tiny house to this property. It has an awesome well. I think it's even soft water. So we have a water filtration system set up in the kitchen for our drinking water. And other than that, now it's a situation where there are no bills coming in other than for internet and cell phone. No, water bills, no electricity bills, no heating bills. We get 2 big tanks set up, filled up every few months, and it's very economical. The instant hot water heater and propane heaters are run off of that, and the dryer, because the solar system won't work for most electric dryers, so that one had to be converted to gas. but the range is gas, so it's stovetop and oven, and it's a fantastic off-grid range that we have. So I came here, thought I'd invite people to follow along, set this channel up, and I know a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people have channels. My ex-husband was a builder before we built our own homes, and has been in construction his whole life, so we do watch what a lot of people are doing. Some in particular, I won't mention any names, and we're just absolutely shocked at what people do as far as construction goes. And so I don't want to get into criticizing other people. People do whatever their skill level is, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I'm not saying we're experts. We've got new chickens. Had a little bit of heartbreak over losing a few of them, but I am not portraying myself or my ex as experts in anything. I think we have a lot more skills and a lot more tools than most people, but I just thought it might be fun to do this like others have, and have you follow us along, show you what works, what hasn't worked. We've already made some changes to the tiny house, and again, going to do things a little bit different with the new one that I'm building for myself, and I'm super excited about that. Got my second 40-footer delivered last week, got it leveled up and ready to go. The tiny house that my ex currently lives in is a 40-footer. I'm using two 40-footers. Mind you, he has a 20-footer like this one to house the solar and storage, at the washer and dryer and freezers. Stuff a lot into those things. So, you know, I see what a lot of people are doing, and some of it I'm not crazy about, but it's just like designing a house. Everybody has different ideas of what they want, how many bedrooms, how much space. Some people say we're absolutely crazy. How can you live in such a tiny space? I absolutely love it. When we built our first house in 1998, we actually had to buy a fifth wheel and live in it because you simply couldn't, the rentals were not available. The vacancy rate was 0%. There was just nothing to rent. You couldn't find a place to live. We had two boys at the time, and so we lived in our fifth wheel in a campground while we built our house. That's with kids going to school, a dog, me commuting to work, using my vacation time to help build the house. We ended up doing that 3 times in 5 years because, yes, we are that crazy. But some people say crazy, I say fun. I love it. So, but it does have its challenges, but it also gave me a lot of time to think about the space you really need to live in and how much time. You know, our last conventional home was 1,800 square feet on 2 levels, 4 bathrooms. So much cleaning to do. I don't ever want to have to clean 4 bathrooms again. I don't want to do it, especially at my age. So I absolutely love it. Spend more time outside, even if it is working, like clearing brush. I just cleared a bunch of brush yesterday. I would rather be doing that than cleaning bathrooms. You know, planting some more trees, whatever. I would rather spend more time outside, even if it's in the hammock, than cleaning bathrooms. So, working so hard to achieve, you know, the big house with all the bathrooms and all the work just doesn't appeal to me anymore. And mind you, I couldn't go with the tiny house on wheels sort of setup. We did look at that. That would be fine for camping or for traveling, but I can't part with that much stuff, and I couldn't live in that small a space. Absolutely can't do it. Can't part with all my boots and all my shoes and all my purses and all my coats and whatever. Can't do it. So we're going to share, you know, everything we've done, even the things that haven't worked. I don't consider it a big deal or a failure. If you try something, it doesn't work, you move on to something else. We tried potato towers last year. The potatoes were great. There wasn't enough of them, and they dried out too much, and just simply not going to do it again. But it was a good experiment, and I don't mind doing that. So it was a lesson learned, and you move on. We try something new, and it doesn't bother us if it doesn't work out, whether that be in construction or with food or whatever. We've got the chicken coop done, of course, because the chicks are divided up into it. We got 52, we've lost a few. We're going to put the Cornish Giants in the chicken tractor fairly soon here, and put them outside in the grass, and the Rhode Island Reds are going to stay with the chicken coop, and they'll have an outdoor run. So that's all built. The chicken coop is the chicken tractor, I think, is fantastic. And all the fruit trees that we've got were planted last year, as well as raspberries and rhubarb. I absolutely love rhubarb and rhubarb strawberry pie, so have to have rhubarb everywhere I live. And the chickens seem to be kind of a natural place to start. We bought a whole beef from a local person here in Alberta last year, and we found someone even closer that we can buy from again this year when we run out, and now we'll have our own chickens. We've thought about raising pigs, we've thought about goats, we've thought about a lot of different things. Last year, all the hay that was on this property, Chris mowed, and we put it in a 30 by 40 foot patch to grow potatoes this year, using the roof-top method. That's what we're hoping to do. Again, not really sure of the soil, not sure if it'll work. We did get the hay put down last year though, so it sat for a year, which is awesome. That's what you need to do. So we got that done, so hopefully have lots of potatoes this year. I'm going to use my DR string trimmer. Last year I mowed the raspberries, the wild ones, into rows. This year I think I'm going to go through and just mow them all down. They're so old and dried out and unkempt that I'm hoping it will actually make them produce better if I just mow them down completely. We've thought about bees. Again, put them out back behind all the fruit trees and the raspberries, and apparently, you know, it helps your fruit trees an awful lot. So we've thought about bees too. Might not do that this year, but something for down the road. I like the idea of having, we've looked at miniature jerseys, because for the two of us, we really don't need that much milk. Now, something we are thinking about is a freeze dryer, because you can freeze dry milk and cream and eggs and so many other things. But that'll be down the road. You just can't do everything at once. So, but I do like the idea of having the eggs, the chickens, honey, milk, butter, cream, the herbs, veggies, the fruit. We've got a small greenhouse. It won't take you through the winter. Like, I did have some strawberry plants that survived through the winter that I had in barrels cut in half. And I was quite surprised about that because the winters are pretty harsh here. All the trees survived, I think, except for one miniature cherry. We planted pears, crab apples, lots of apples, cherry, some miniature cherry, and I'd like to get some more blueberry plants done this year, and maybe haskap. That's a new thing, and it's sort of a super berry. They're supposed to be really healthy, and I think I'd like to do that. So I thought I'd invite people along on this journey. I've had so many friends on Facebook that followed us just with pictures of the build of the first tiny house, and I posted pictures of that on a bunch of Facebook pages. A lot of people responded saying that they wanted to be contacted with the channel name. So, and you'll hear me in a couple of videos, I think I slip sometimes. I thought about tiny homestead living and tiny home living. I find when I'm talking, tiny home living is just easier to say. Tiny homestead living, not so much. So I'm kind of still undecided. And of course, everybody you ask has a different opinion. So right now it's tiny home living, because we are living in a tiny home on a tiny homestead. So, and going to build another tiny home. I'm super, super excited about building my own. I am not super excited about the prices of material and lumber right now. It is absolutely insane. And even the sea can, I ended up spending an extra $1,000 over what it would have cost me 6 months ago. You know, delivery, offloading. We were really lucky, found a local guy, an old guy that owns his own property, has a really old sawmill, and we got a huge amount of lumber from him just last week. It's rough sawn lumber. It's not dimensional like in the store, so a 2x6 is actually 2x6, not like in the stores where it's 1 3/4 by 2 3/4 or 2.5 or something. So we're going to rip the 2x6s in half and use 2x3 interior walls, because it will be spray foamed, and the 3 inches of spray foam is plenty to meet code. And that's, even though we use 2x4 interior framing in the first tiny house, the spray foam isn't like full out to the 2x4s, and there's space in behind as well. We're leaving space behind the lumber so that there's a thermal break between the 2x4, well now 2x3s, and the metal side. And again, we are using spray foam. It's incredibly expensive, but absolutely the only way, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Chris is concerned, to insulate these boxes, because whether it's heat or cold, the metal condenses and you're going to end up with a lot of moisture. So simply can't do bats or most conventional insulation. Has to be spray foamed as far as we're concerned. Again, you know, you can argue that. I did get a price for the Insulfast, I think it's called, the styrofoam that, you know, there's some that fits in the grooves, and then flat stuff that goes along. It's got the black ribs that you screw into for attaching your wood, but again, that won't work as well for doing tongue and groove wood like this for the walls. You don't have, because the ribs for attaching to are at certain spaces and not 16-inch on center like we're used to. So anyway, that's sort of the short and I guess the long of it. Just thought people might like to come along on this journey, see the fun. Hopefully there won't be any shootouts on the property. It's not that easy building or doing projects with your husband or spouse at the best of times. Sometimes not so easy doing it with an ex either. But we manage. We always worked really well together, and that's the one thing we still have in common. We still really work well together, mostly because we've done so much that, I mean, I can watch what he's doing and see if he's struggling with something, and I know which tool he needs. So I'm handing him the tool before he turns to ask for it, you know, and I know which tool to hand him. So it's working pretty well, and I actually went and looked at a property a couple of weeks ago. Chris and I did, to move my tiny house to, and I really like it. It's just that not ready to move yet. I want to finish the tiny house first and then simply move it onto a property. And I'm looking at a lot of different options. You know, there's one that's commercial. I'm wondering if I still have to find out if I can run a business and live in the tiny house on certain properties that are commercial. I think that's less than an hour from here. So I am looking at properties, and we'll see what happens in the future. Right now, with this COVID, nobody knows what's going on or what's happening, and so it's really hard to plan anything. But for now, I can fill my boredom, fill my time with building my own tiny house, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be doing that. I've ordered absolutely amazing tiles to put on the wall in the kitchen behind the wood-burning cook stove that I'm looking forward to buying. That'll be a great video to do. Really excited about that. I bought the book years ago on using a wood cook stove because it is different. You don't just turn it on and have everything set at the right temperature. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I actually found one. I sourced one that I think is perfect for a tiny house. And that's not easy to do. Most of them are massive, and they're meant for big homes to heat and to cook in a big home. This one is quite petite compared to most of them. So, like I said, I hope you'll come along with us and follow this journey. Who knows where I'm going to end up? Not really sure, but it'll be fun to do this and show people what we're doing and how we're doing it, whether you agree with how we're doing it or not. There's one big thing about the way I've designed mine that I know I'm going to get a lot of comments and a lot of videos about, because I am not cutting the entire side of both sea cans out and sandwiching them together to make one big open space. I am doing a doorway, a 36-inch approximately doorway from one through to the other, and I know I'm going to get absolutely bombarded with comments about that. Being a tiny space, why wouldn't you make it bigger? Why wouldn't you make it more open? That sort of thing. To me, it's illogical to buy something for its structure and its strength and cut the entire structure away. That's just me. So I've got it divided up into rooms, and this is the way I'm going to do it. And I think it also makes sense down the road, because I will probably be moving it to my own property, and it's going to be so much easier for the truck to just lift it. We get a crane to lift it onto a truck, they unload it, and because it's not just being slid off and left somewhere, it will have to be on and offloaded with a crane to put specifically in place. And then there are bolts that lock these things together, special bolts that lock them together at the corners where they sit on top of each other. So anyway, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments, and some good, some not so good. But that's the way it is. I feel the same way when I look at other people's projects. You know, I agree with a lot of the stuff. I love a lot of the stuff. And I don't agree with some stuff. So that's just the way it is with everybody. We're all different. We all have different ideas, and we live differently. So I'm really excited about a lot of the things I've sourced to put in my tiny house. And, you know, even the difference in this 5 acres, it was basically a 5-acre farmer's field. So last year planted a lot of evergreens, a double row at the front of the property, offset, so that it'll be a screen, you know, for you know, privacy, but also aesthetically it'll look really nice. And then we did a row along the curve of the driveway, which I think down the road will look really, really nice. So it's looking more like a homestead rather than just an overgrown farmer's field. So again, I just love seeing something develop and progress and just become much more than it was, and know that it's your hard work and your ingenuity that did that. So I love it. It doesn't matter whether it's planting trees or building a tiny house, but I am super excited about my own tiny house. So I love the first one, I still do, but I'm really excited about mine. So thanks for joining me, and I hope people do like and subscribe to what we're doing, and help us out with that, being a new channel. And all the help is going to be much appreciated, especially during these trying times. Thanks, guys.